It's the Capital City Podcast. I'm your host, Capital J, alongside my main man,
DL Glass.
And we're in the building right now. Now, this week, this day, this month, this year, we're going to talk about the sneaker game. And, of course, since we are a hip-hop show, we're not just going to talk about sneakers. We're not a sneaker show. And we're giving you our angle.
Mm-hmm.
And look at what the hip-hop game has done for the sneaker industry.
Wow. Hold on. Not sports.
No.
Nah.
Of course, sports drives a lot of this. But look what...
Say it with your chest out.
Look what hip-hop has done for the sneaker industry. Give yourselves a round of applause, hip-hop. You have built an empire.
Absolutely.
Now, we always like to start in the beginning, right? Of course, in the hip-hop game, from its inception, sneakers have been present. But hip-hop didn't have a great influence outside of areas where it was happening. So people,
right.
The Converse Chuck Taylors, for example, that a B-boy would be wearing in the Bronx, you would also find on a playground in Tarboro, North Carolina. And he didn't have that shoe on because he saw a guy do the windmill in that shoe. You know what I mean?
Right.
That shoe was already what it was going to be, and not because of hip-hop. But that is a very important shoe in the grand scheme of hip-hop footwear.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? But hip-hop did not make that shoe.
By no means.
Right.
It was, like you said, it was already what it was.
It was already what it was.
On his way and gonna be.
But that's a shoe that was around. You saw a lot of pro kids back in the day.
Sports affiliated.
Yeah. And guys had shoes back even before hip-hop. Basketball players had signature shoes and whatnot.
Yes.
They did that thing. But in the hip-hop game, the shoes that you first associated with hip-hop back in the day, of course, was the Converse Chuck Taylor and any other high-top basketball shoe that was available at the time. You know what I mean?
Right.
Pro kids, stuff like that. And then you fast forward a little bit, and Run DMC makes a song about their Adidas. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
I know I skipped a whole. Did I skip some stuff in there?
Yeah.
I skipped the invention of the Air Force One.
Oh,
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the Air Force Ones. Like if you were my age, you know that there was a time in life when there were no Air Force Ones in the store. You see what I'm saying? So, I remember when Air Force Ones were invented and they came out and you're like, oh, interesting. 3/4 cut shoes. But I never really associated, my first association with the Air Force One was not as a hip-hop shoe.
Right.
For me, it was a high-level basketball shoe. When I first saw it and hip-hoppers were wearing suede Pumas, suede Adidas, shell-toe Adidas, and the likes. Through all of that, I don't think that hip-hop's influence had done anything to the sneaker game on a national level yet.
Right.
Like, even those sneakers like that were experiencing success, they it was in pockets. You have little pockets areas in LA and places like that was a certain kind of sneaker that everybody's buying and everybody wears.
And because of, I guess the genius part of it is that Nike started wanting to produce as many shoes as possible, as cheap as possible, produced cheap but have the quality and be fashionable. And So in the early 80s that you're talking about right now, you know, one of the most popular shoes that I remember, uh, and I can't remember what year it was. I don't know if it was 80. I don't know. What year did Terminator come out?
That was probably around 84.
Okay, maybe 84, 85, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and Back to the Future.
Yeah, 84, 85.
Okay, Nike had a presence in both of those movies.
Oh yeah, but see, that's we're gonna get to that. We ain't made it to that era yet.
Okay,
You see what I'm saying? We talking about yeah.
No. I was gonna make a
We're gonna get
connection
there.
because it made me think of something that you said earlier. You talking about Converse, you know, is like that inception of Converse into, or you know, hip hop made Converse or whatever company cooler back then because the acts or the rappers or the MCs might have worn the shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I think you know, like when you look at how much genius it took for that, like what kind of groundbreaking, you know, stuff that went on to make sure that that happened. I think that it's crazy how it happened, and it because we were as a people. I'm sorry for going off on a tangent, but shit, we got content, right? You know what I'm saying? Like on a people were just like black people were just coming from having a knowledge of self, and it makes me wonder like how did back then we get to the points of the brands controlling us when we had certain levels of stuff going on for ourselves back then. Why aren't there more black companies in the position that the white companies or the other companies are in now?
Well, for shoes, it's hard. It's hard to make shoes. You know, like you see,
Right.
you can go in your room and you can sew me a suit that I'll wear. But if you bring me some shoes, if you bring me some shoes and you tell me you put these together
But
at your house,
that's because they
I don't care
programmed us
who it
to
is.
make us
I don't
think it
care
was
who
cool.
it is. You tell me. It's
They
not. It's
programmed
not
that.
us. I don't care. It could be us, them, we, or they. Whoever bring me some homemade shoes. I mean, you see what I'm saying? I want you to think about what you're saying.
shoes you said
The
earlier?
quality, the work they got to go into a pair of shoes. Like
Right.
you, if you do bring me a pair of shoes and they worth wearing, you spend so much time on them shoes that it's not even viable for you to make another pair for anybody. You see what I'm saying? You had to charge $3,000 for them shoes.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, back
I was just
but back to
thinking about it.
hey, but on the real, back in the day before all the brands were really, you know, involved in what was going on, we were promoting them for free.
Right.
But we
Because
didn't know
had it.
We didn't know it. And this is
Right.
before hip hop had any influence. We go back to that early era. And then Run DMC made My Adidas, and everything changed from that moment on.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
because they had it, you know. I think that it was that's almost like what was going on in music during that time.
let me see. My Adidas. Well, in New York, crack was already jumping, but for the rest of the country, I wouldn't say the country had, crack didn't have a hold of the entire country. AIDS was an issue, but as far as hip hop, it wasn't something that I remember, there being too much discussion about in hip hop circles, and that somebody got it. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So I don't know what was going on. Ronald Reagan was the president. The Cosby Show was starting up. Cameo was changing their sound.
Yeah.
I mean, this was going on in the world.
And he was bragging about his shoes.
Yeah, and he was bragging about his shoes.
Right.
So they talking about My Adidas. We all saw that Run DMC wore Adidas when we saw the record cover. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people wore a lot of stuff on their record covers through the years.
Absolutely, names.
But when you think about before that and before hip hop, when you look at guys on previous record covers. Well, no, every now and then a shoe label or something would show up on a record cover.
Right.
But a shoe brand. But until Run DMC, you see 3 guys wearing the same pair of shoes. And then they make a song about that pair of shoes. And then people start buying that shoe because this group is so popular. Think about this. Adidas got that push for nothing. Like,
Absolutely.
Adidas didn't ask them to make that song. But you can tell they did appreciate it, though. Run DMC signed hip-hop's first endorsement deal with Adidas. Looks like they actually got the deal in 1986. Song came out in 1985, I think. Gave them $1 million endorsement deal. Oh, maybe they got, started in 1986. Yeah. So, Run DMC's relationship with Adidas started around 86. I don't know when they got the $1 million, but they did. It was at somewhere after the Madison Square Garden concert in 1986 where Run told everybody to hold their Adidas up and everybody in the stands is just like, check this out. And somebody saw dollar signs. Cha-ching. So after that, you had Steady B talking about his Filas, MC Shan talking about his Pumas, which led, like, dudes became so closely aligned with their sneaker brand at the time. What was that? Wasn't Kumo D used to wear the Kangaroos? What shoe was that Kumo D used to wear? Somebody used to wear British Knights. I remember British Knights being big. And that was some rapper's shoe. You always saw him in British Knights. He talked about British Knights. Then you had Troops, Stetsasonic, wore the Troops all the time. So that brand was so associated with Stetsasonic, it makes you wonder, did they get money for that? But if they didn't, they did a lot for that brand because I don't think that brand would have sold as many shoes had they not been the official footwear of Stetsasonic. What other reason do you have? I mean, other than I want a pair of those. How do you know you want a pair of those?
A pair of what?
Troops.
Yeah.
Right.
And how long did it last?
How do you know, like, for real, what tells you I want that shoe?
The rapper.
You either see somebody with it or you hear about it.
Yeah, the same thing.
How do you see somebody with it? And you ain't never, like, a brand new shoe company out of the blue.
Like that cool-ass camel smoking that cigarette.
The only way to see somebody with it is in the videos and on that record cover. You see a whole group of dudes.
Right.
Wearing the same shoe. Look what that did for Troop. I mean, it was short-lived.
The summer that it lasted.
Yeah, the summer that it lasted. Golly, who was that wore them British Knights? What rapper wore those? Kumo D.
Kumo D.
Kumo D was a British Knights guy.
Okay.
Yep, and it was somebody...
Think he still got a pair?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he does. Kumo D.
Brand new, still in the box?
He probably does.
You think they turn yellow like the Jordans?
I'm sure they do. Now let's talk about Jordans and what LL Cool J did for that ugly black, red, and white Air Jordan.
Right.
It's a classic. It's an icon. It's also an eyesore.
Yes.
Even back in the day, you only bought that shoe because it was expensive and a status symbol. It wasn't because it was a beautiful work of art. That shoe was not good looking. It did not feel good on your foot. It didn't play basketball good.
Nah.
I had a pair, and I actually played basketball in them in the 8th grade. I begged for them expensive tail shoes. Went out there, they put the biggest, most painful blister on my big toe, man.
I knew it.
I was like, oh my God, this is the worst.
You ever notice you always see Michael Jordan with getting his feet wrapped or unwrapped?
Terrible shoes. But I will say this.
No, they're not.
Michael Jordan, as big as he is, you cannot deny the influence that LL Cool J wearing them on his first album cover had on the hip-hop community and their love affair with every Jordan since. And maybe not a lot of people admit to it. But I think, personally, that LL Cool J co-signing that shoe on his album cover gave an air of legitimacy that lasted forever to Michael Jordan. Drop that. This is Capital City with Capital J. That's my outrageous claim in here right now.
I'm glad
that
you said
Air
that.
Jordans would not be what they are
Oh my God.
if LL Cool J had not legitimized that ridiculously uncomfortable, ugly, hard to maintain, expensive tail sneaker. Like, Michael Jordan was cool. Like I said, he was a cool guy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And he was a great basketball player.
Yeah.
But that first shoe was an awful, terrible shoe.
Oh,
and
yeah,
it took a lot of, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. I laugh now when I see people wearing the retro ones.
Yeah, I'm like, what is going on, man? Like, I remember, like, even when that shoe was out, man, for it, you knew that people were flocking to them and that people wanted them. But when you looked around, you did not see that shoe a whole lot. But it's like they were selling a lot.
Yeah, because that's what I was going to.
But it's so you know they were being sold.
Right.
But when you just look around, you just didn't see them everywhere. I'm like, well, I mean, now I see them more now than I saw them when they came out.
Not just the ones. I'm talking about all of them.
Yeah, and then I guess, but like I said, that color scheme too, though. Back in the day, your only option was that black, red, and white. And when you got a pair, like, that's a hard thing back in the 80s. To be like, man, look, like, I ain't trying to be funny or nothing. When that shoe came out, man, we just coming out of the same type of economy that we just got finished dealing with, where inflation was off the chain, people weren't making a whole lot of money, jobs had dried up, and we're trying to get out of that. And then Nike come with a $65 basketball shoe. That's a hard thing to sell, and it's black, red, and white. I mean, you got to think about the practicality. So this is the first time that something's being offered to the public that really has no purpose, that is purely for the sake of ownership, just to say you got it, because it don't feel good, it don't look good, it matches nothing in your closet, and you can't even play basketball in them. So, and it's the most expensive shoe you can buy. Wanted them. And you still wanted them, and they still sold them.
And you went and bought a fit to match.
And I'm just saying right now that I believe that LL having him on the cover of his album had a little bit more to do with, like, because he was the only rapper that I remember wearing that shoe. I don't remember anybody else with that shoe on at any event or video or you know. And I'm sure somebody wore it, but I just cannot remember any other rapper really stepping out in public and just, you know, in a big fashion saying, I'm wearing the Jordans. And LL is the only one I could think of in that first from the Jordan ones. Because
you saw LL, now he get Jordan credit.
I mean,
he's the reason Michael Jordan is a billionaire.
Hey, I'm just saying,
because he wore.
I'm just saying, man. Like I said, that's a hard sell. A shoe that expensive. Right. You know what I'm saying? A $65 basketball shoe that doesn't feel good, you can't play basketball in. Right. That got some eyeball colors that don't match with everything. To sell that, it takes a lot of things in motion. And I'm not saying it was just LL, because it also takes the greatest basketball player in the world to make this work. So I'm not saying LL Cool J's influence is greater than Michael Jordan's. I'm just saying that even the great Michael Jordan needs a little bit of push to get this over. Like, the black community, in the early days of hip-hop, we didn't have money sitting around. This before crack hit everywhere. Like, so you in New York might be saying, I saw Jordans everywhere. Yeah, because you were already smoking crack, and you had dudes selling crack who could afford $65 basketball shoes. Right. Out here in the rest of America in 1985, before, this ain't like 1988 when everybody got Jordans on. Right. This is 1985, and crack is not everywhere. Drug money is not everywhere, and the hood is struggling. And a $65 shoe that don't serve a purpose is so impractical that it's hard to sell, even with the greatest basketball player in the world behind it and the greatest MC of the time wearing it on his cover. Even then, but it went over the top. And still to this day, there's a cult, you know, it's forever. Jordan's a forever shoe. Right. So But you know, the weird thing is after a certain point, yeah, you know, everybody's on the retros and they keep coming out with new ones, but it makes you wonder, like, how many of these new ones are they selling? And is there a true street following for the new J's? Like, you know,
I think they're being mass produced now, and there's no creativity behind this that I be seeing. Like some of this stuff, like okay, nobody even.
yeah, nobody
This
knew
was
that.
computer generated random shit, and nobody's gonna wear this shit.
Right.
Look
right,
at it.
Right. Think about the other eyeball brands that got their turn because hip hop and R&B singers endorsed their brand at the time. Like, I'll have to say that Diodora is a brand I don't think anybody would have thought about.
I thought it was big in
You see what I'm
tennis,
saying? It was big in tennis, but you know, for us to be
and
wearing
then
that
we
shoe,
got it.
we got a hold of it. You know, I think Special Ed used to wear a lot of Diodora stuff. Like he's showing you what this looked like, so you'll know that you want it. You know,
Right.
they're becoming models
Right.
for the fashion accessories of the time.
Let you know.
You know what I'm
want
saying?
this. Right.
Like I didn't know I wanted that. Some Cazelle glasses, they've been around forever, but at some point they got hot in the hood, and
Right.
Gazelles now are, you know, they're legendary. And it's a hip hop accessory. And look what hip hop did for that brand. So moving forward, you got Steady B doing the same thing for felines. Puma had that thing. Puma had it on lock for a long time.
Yeah.
So I'm not, now MC Shan. You know, he was jumping on the bandwagon for Pumas because Pumas, you know, a staple. Let me see. Moving forward past that, then you get to that point where you start to see the drug money influence in the game. And everybody's just had on something different all the time. That's where the British Knights and the troops started coming in. You know, that you got dudes just coming in with sneakers. Of course, Bally's had a little run. Those are the side shoes. We'll talk about those later. They're not really sneakers. But let me see. During that era, yeah, I remember all the basketball shoes seemed to be hot. You know what I'm saying?
Like the Barclays came out with
the
90s,
Barclays
maybe
and the
90s.
Patrick Ewings.
Yeah.
You know, the Jordans and whatever new Jordan came out, like the first few Jordans were all pretty hot. But that second one, I don't remember a whole lot of people with that second Jordan, but that third one was insane.
Right. They stepped it up.
Oh man. That's my favorite one. But yeah, you get into that era right there, man. Every time you saw dudes on TV, you saw all kinds of new footwear. You know, it was always something different.
Right.
You know, and it gave a lot of brands a chance to shine. Like, and without rappers actively supporting them, and you know, I don't think these brands understand how important it was to have these MCs wearing their stuff in their videos. Because when you look back on it, like, look at Fila today. You know.
Yeah, in some circles, they you know, Fila is still what it was. I think that a lot of the brands that hip hop brought light to, it was a lot of them. It was a lot of them. Sneakers, like what? Every sneaker that somebody who was popping or hot,
right,
had, you know, that's what the next big thing was, or what the big thing was.
You know what's crazy though? Like how many sneakers that rappers endorsed became hot, but it took years for sneakers that rappers made. You know, like signature brands that were made, you know, for rappers or by sneaker brands for rappers, they were always kind of unsuccessful. With Adidas, Run DMC showed up and they said, "We like this shoe, we're gonna wear it." And Adidas gave him some money, and it was a beautiful relationship. But okay, boom. How come you fast forward a few years to G Unit, Master P, Jay-Z, when sneaker brands are willing to give rappers a chance to have their own sneaker, but these shoes don't already have a following. They can never build the same level of loyalty that the shoe that pre-existed developed when somebody endorsed it. It took a while for hip hop to get to that. It's like, you know.
Yeah. I think Reebok is a bad, but in the sneaker game, it is a straight one. But when you compare it to the success that Nike was having, like what did Reebok really? You know what I'm saying? Like how many
Reebok was never really. I don't remember them being too invested. You know, they made what they made, and if you bought it, fine. But I don't remember them making. And who really? You know, Reebok was just a staple. You know, it's like, you know, that Reebok Classic was just everywhere. I think that was probably a girl rapper shoe. You know what I'm saying? If you really think about it, who made that popular? It might have been a lot of, like, when I think back, what I saw that on the most hip hoppers' feet, I think girls in the Reebok Classics. And it's not like it was just a girl shoe. I had homies with Reebok Classics, but that's you know, when I think who endorsed this in the hip hop community, I think you know, I think I don't know. I just see women. I see Salt Pepper and Roxanne Shante, and like when I think Reebok Classic, that's the first feminine people that pop in my head. You know what I'm saying?
Did you think like that back then?
No, I mean, I knew it was just a shoe that everybody wore, but I'm just saying when I think about who really made it popular, I'm thinking it was that girl hip hoppers of the late '80s that really brought them to in front of the camera. Right. You know what I'm saying? It's not like it wasn't a classic. You know, people already wore the shoe.
Always thought it
Shoes
was a
always
feminine
been
shoe.
around. I don't think it's a feminine shoe. I'm just saying when I think hip hopper, I think, you know, I see Salt Pepper in that shoe for some reason. You know what I mean?
So that means it's feminine. What's wrong with saying that it's a feminine shoe?
Well, I don't think the shoe has a gender. You know, and you know, and when I would, and if I think something is feminine, I would think that when somebody put it on, you know, they're wearing something feminine. But I don't think like that about that shoe. You know what I'm saying? I don't. Matter of fact, I don't think anything about that shoe other than I saw it on a whole bunch of girl rappers in the late '80s. You know, and it seemed like if I blink, I see Sweet Tea or somebody with some Reebok Classics on. I don't, you know, Finesse and Quiz, you know, you name it.
So I was just trying to clarify.
Yeah.
I always.
Yeah, but there's no knock on anybody else that want to wear them. I love them. You know, I love all Reeboks. They're the most comfortable shoe ever made. I ain't never had none though.
Me either. Me either.
But all my other Reeboks were man, felt like just, oh man. Yeah, Reeboks
the pumps.
Comfortable. Man. And see, that's another shoe. That shoe experienced a huge response when it came out. Everybody loved that shoe. But it wasn't because hip-hop told you to go get it. The Reebok pump was just the Reebok pump. You know? That was
years.
Yeah, that was athletes sold that shoe to us.
Yes,
you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, but now you fast forward a little bit and you got shoes that aren't sneakers running in, you know. First of all, I skipped the whole era. Air Force Ones came out in '82. After all these different shoes came out and those little brands like Fila, Diodora, British Knights, and Troop, and guys like that kind of disappeared, then it seems like Air Force One just came in. Air Force One and daggone Chuck Taylors and Shell Toe Adidas. It seemed like they just said, all right, we got this for the rest of the time. And for a long time, those were the only shoes from the era that you could still find that were always being produced. I can't ever think of a time when you could not go buy a pair of Air Force Ones since they've been available, or some Chuck Taylors, or some Shell Toes. They're always available.
And they all kept up with inflation.
Yeah, but you know what? You can get all three of those shoes for under $100 still.
What?
All three of those shoes, either one of them, you can find for under $100 still to this day. Think about a pair of shell toes, base price about $74 or so. A pair of Chucks about $45, $50. Like, these are still affordable shoes. They're classics. They've always been around.
They have.
You know? And for a long time in the sneaker game in hip hop, that's kind of all that was left, really. You know, and J's. You always saw a lot of J's. But when you start looking at, the Nike Cortez, there was a run where the Nike Cortez was everywhere. That's when I would say
when
Nelly.
Was running.
Nelly and I saw a lot of them in St. Louis videos.
They was wearing Reebok Classics first.
Yeah, they had the Reeboks. Of course, Air Force Ones. L.A., you saw a lot of Cortez in L.A.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The Reeboks, I saw them in a lot of New Orleans video, too.
Cortez was a popular shoe.
Yeah, Cortez was a very popular shoe in the hip-hop world, man. You know what I'm saying? That is a classic shoe, and that's one that I can say has probably been there from the beginning and just kept and maintained the presence for a long time. Like, especially when you start speaking on L.A. Like, L.A., that's a classic shoe. So whenever dudes were involved in the early era of hip-hop on the West Coast, you can best believe the Cortez was there. And shoot, around 2000, I remember still, having a pair myself and wearing them. And they were still pretty mainstream at the time, Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that shoe was big. But that's the era of the Timberland boot, too. We start talking about shoes that aren't sneakers. That's a shoe that kind of took over the sneaker game and ate a big portion of the sneaker game on the streets.
Timbs.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's eating into the sneaker game when you go out on the ball court. You see dudes out there running around with Timbs on. And they're not made for basketballing. They hardly made for walking.
Hardly.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
it was, that was regional, too.
Yeah, Timbs, man. Timbs feel worse than Jordans. Them Jordan 1s. They sold, but that's another rap endorsement, Mm-hmm. Like Wu-Tang, Biggie, their endorsement and love of Timberland, Smith & Wesson, you know what I'm saying? You see these guys, like, for a long time, so many rappers, like, gone are the days where one MC picks one shoe and the next MC picks something different. There became a time when they all got unified. Everybody had on Timbs. Then you go on the West Coast, you see Exhibit and Tash and some Timbs. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, it's just a national phenomenon, and it changed the shoe game for a minute.
It really did.
Yep.
For a good minute.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like sneakers are still hot, but you didn't associate them with hip-hop the way that you used to,
Right.
At least not any new shoe. It was still the classics.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Air Force Ones. You think about what dudes were still rapping about in 2000. In my Air Force Ones. In my Air Force Ones. Right. Give me 2 pair. And that was the first time you heard a dude rapping about his shoes in a long time, too. But look what happened to Air Force Ones after that. And I'm not saying Air Force One wasn't always a popular shoe.
Yeah, because
it was always a huge shoe. But, that was just a little boost. The boost that it needed. It did not know. I take that back. Air Force One didn't need a boost.
It didn't need a boost.
But it got one. As many legitimate Air Force Ones as they sell. You still got a billion pairs of fake ones being sold out here, too. That's how big that shoe is. So, the Air Force One, we in another era, we're moving on. The Air Force One goes from being a low-level player in the game, a utility shoe. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I think about 1982, if you want to be fly, dudes look fly in they suede Pumas, they Clarks. But the Air Force One was it was a true worker shoe. And not like you went to work in it, but it was a beater shoe almost. You know what I'm saying? Because if you got them, they last forever. And you can't tear them up. They feel all right. But when it's time to get fly, you take them off. Because, we all know how Air Force Ones wear. it's hard to keep them crispy.
Mm-hmm.
And think about it, kids today, we put on a pair of Air Force Ones, they won't even bend their feet. See them coming down the steps looking like they got broken ankles. What's wrong with you? I'm trying not to crease my ones.
Yep.
And now this shoe has become the shoe in front of all the people that had waited in line behind. Finally, the Air Force One comes to the forefront, and it's fighting with Timberland boots for supremacy. But as far as the sneaker game went, Air Force Ones had on lock. Then, Adidas decided and Reebok decided to jump into the game with the S dots and the G Unit sneakers.
Mm-hmm.
Master P tried to get in the game and make some sneakers.
Right. What was his called? The P Millers.
I think so. But the sad thing is, and Jordan even, that's when he broke off his own brand around that time too, didn't he? The Jordan brand, Jumpman. This is just Jordan brand.
Oh,
Jordan.
It's just Jordan.
Yeah.
Do they still do Jumpman?
And the funny thing, in all four of these cases, none of those shoes are really taken seriously. None of them. Like nobody if they were, they would have lasted. Mm-hmm. Like the G Units, nobody's going back rocking the old G Units. It's like it's just a time that came and went. The S dots came and went. It was hard to maintain too. They wrinkled up terribly. It's just a shoe that if you had a pair and wore them a few times, you can't pull them back out now. You know what I mean? They never got around to the second edition where it probably would have corrected all that. The Master P's, like really nobody. I don't know anybody with those.
I can't remember seeing anybody with G Units or S dots on either.
I got a pair of G Units. They were really comfortable too. And to me that was the best of all of those three. But that one didn't. That era didn't last long. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But to me, I think I would guess that was probably one of the most successful too. They might have sold more of those than the S dots, or maybe not. Could have been vice versa. Who knows? Master P might have sold 1 million of his shoes a week.
More than
Yeah. I mean, I can easily see that, considering But none of these things lasted. But then you fast forward, like when did the experiment become successful? Because that's, it was an experiment. Rappers want to have their own brand, not something that already existed. Like I can come and say, I'm going to endorse a shoe that's already made, but these are all new products and none of them really work. And what's the difference between then and now where Yeezy can come out with a pair of shoes, like the ugliest shoes in the world?
I've been waiting for you to say his name. This dude got some rubber shoes that cost like $300 for, 5, 6? I don't know how much they cost, but they made out of rubber. Hundreds. And I'm sorry, I just can't even get over that part. Hey, no hate.
Like, I'm just saying.
No hate.
I'm just saying.
We overcame.
I'm just
saying.
No hate. I'm just saying. I got a cousin who used to like to wear Crocs. We went fishing. He stepped on a log and
broke his ankle in 3
No, it didn't break his ankle. The piece of the wood came up through his foot.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? I mean,
You okay?
Yeah, he's fine. He'll be all right. But I'm just saying it speaks to, I think a shoe should be made a little tougher than rubber.
Wait a minute. Don't make that comparison to Ye's, okay?
I'm saying
don't make that comparison.
Ye's are Crocs.
You don't know that, and that has not been proven. You have not shared a similar story with a pair of Ye's.
Right, You're right. I did see a comparison on YouTube between the Ye's and a pair of Walmart versions. Walmart made some, but they got sued by Adidas. They had to stop making them, but they made a fake version, and they said, "Oh yeah, the Ye's are way more quality and sturdy. They should be for that much money, but they still made out of plastic and rubber." Now, I'm just saying, man.
Nike.
Hey, are you
Converse and all those other creatives?
Man, look like futuristic Genie shoes.
But you got it. What'd you say?
Genie came out the bottom in 3030.
Right? You said they won't buy our stuff, and there's a prime example where they're buying our stuff.
No, that's Adidas stuff.
Everything else you've been talking about belonging to Adidas and Nikes and
I know, but I never made the argument about who. I don't care who owns none of this stuff.
Oh, no. I'm just talking about the
ugly shoe is an ugly shoe. That's the ugliest shoe I ever seen in my life, man. And I can't believe anybody would spend. But it goes back to the Jordan theory. You go back to you got a black, red, and white shoe that costs more than any other shoe, and you can't wear it to work. It don't match blue jeans.
But guess the difference
And
between Jordan
you can't play
and Kanye.
basketball in them.
What's the difference between Jordan and Ye?
Nothing.
Music. Well, we've been sitting talking about the whole time.
Yeah, Kanye's doing it musically.
If he wasn't who he was musically, would those shoes be selling the way they do? Would they be standing in line just like for the Jordans if it wasn't for music?
You know, I kind of wonder, like when he had those, you remember the Adidas, the joggers, the Yeezy joggers that everybody liked, the kind of cloth, with the rubber bottom. That kind of was a design that Adidas already had. But when I look at this shoe, this particular technology, it's new, it's different.
Right.
This is, futuristic.
Right.
Now, when I see that, I have to wonder if this craze would not have happened, whether his name was attached to it or not. Like, I think he could have designed the shoe and not told anybody it was Kanye, and Adidas could have released a shoe that's this different and weird and gotten somebody else to endorse it. I don't think it had to be Kanye who designed it. I think any endorsement to get this shoe in front of people and put that price on it could sell that right now. Like, you look at a time when the Balenciagas with the great big soles selling for you see what I'm saying? And you got and I had a homeboy tell me, he's like, man, these shoes right here, man, so heavy. So, it lets you know that even though they're a jogging shoe, they're not really made for jogging. Not really a practical shoe. So we're in an era where you can sell impracticality. It's got to be different. And I think, I'm wondering, could they have gotten away with this with somebody else's endorsement? It may not have had to have been Kanye. Like, could Wiz Khalifa have gotten away with pushing this shoe? Could Pharrell have gotten away with pushing this particular shoe?
Well, in that regard, I think that because of who Ye is musically and as a person, the shoe has that level of success. Now, not to say if somebody like Pharrell or somebody else wouldn't have had success from it, air quotes, but the level of success that it had, like you said, man, this is groundbreaking new shit associated with somebody.
Right, I get it. And if he designed that shoe, then that's part of the mystique of the package. Like, this is a dude. Yeah. Like, you gotta think about it, man. Like, I'm just gonna put it from outside perspective. I'm looking at, as a citizen, you're looking at this guy who made this music. Okay, he's weird, he's different, but he also designed this shoe. It's like, well, he's kind of the Andy Warhol right now too. You know what I mean? So this is like, this dude is making art. And sneakerheads don't just buy stuff to wear it. It's art. Every sneaker is a piece of art to a sneakerhead. And Kanye West is an artist. So part of the appeal too for this shoe that is ugly and impractical, but it's ugly as a shoe, but I think it's nice as a piece of art. And I think it's a very interesting artistic design. And from that perspective, I think I find it appealing. Artistically, I find it appealing.
And it's comfortable.
Is it?
That's what they say?
Oh, that's what they say.
One version of it, they say you can play basketball in.
Well, Crocs are comfortable. And so are flip-flops. All them other rubber shoes.
Right.
You know it's going to be comfortable because it's made out of rubber. What else? Every part of your shoe that's comfortable, guys, mostly the part with the...
Is it rubber?
It's some kind of foam, or it's something else. But I'm just messing around and giving it the, I'm generalizing. I'm overgeneralizing here for the sake of brevity.
Okay,
you know what I mean. but yeah. How did we go from a point where we wouldn't accept rappers' designs,
right,
and ideas on shoe wear? It was kind of corny for a little while, Pharrell has had some good collabos too. Like, people accept his designs a little bit, but not to the tune that they have with Kanye. Birdman had a deal with Lugs.
Oh yeah, Funk Flex. All them had Lugs deals.
And of course, you know Drake with the Jordan brand.
Drake, right? Drake is newer.
Yeah, we talked about Jay-Z and 50 Cent. Both of their deals were with Reebok. Eminem had a little limited run with Nike. Swiss Beats had a run with Reebok.
So we jumped how many years? We went from what, 80s to the 2000s?
Snoop Dogg had his deal with Adidas, and of course Kanye West started with Nike.
Right. Wait a minute. We jumped from the 80s to the 2000s.
Yep, we got to the 2000s. We started talking about the Air Force Ones with Nelly.
You talking
about
this list
Air.
just now?
Right. Yeah, it was 2000. The earliest one I see is 50 Cent and Reebok and Jay-Z and Reebok. That's when their sneaker deal came back.
Wow.
It was, I don't think anybody else was paid to really, I don't see anything yet. You know what I'm saying?
Wow. Nothing of relevance.
Yeah, nothing of relevance. It's Run DMC and then the next one.
Right.
It's like, you see what I'm saying?
I know it was a time lapse in there for them.
Then when this did happen, like there's joints, you know, like they were limited run, you know. Like there was a time period too where as important as sneakers had been in hip hop, they got frowned upon in the clubs for a little while, which led to the Tim being kind of like the compromise between, that's like, for most guys, they're like, okay, this is non-athletic as I'm going to go with some Timberlands. They don't want to be out there in the hard bottoms, you know what I mean? But shoot, the hard bottoms had their place in hip-hop just because hip-hop had its place in the club. So there were a lot of other shoes in the club that weren't sneakers. When it's time to get fly, dudes that always put on sneakers, you know? That's where your Wallabies and your and all this other stuff came in, your Bally's and your Stacey Adams even, you know? Shoot, I had some Stacey Adams sneakers before, now that I think about it. But Stacey Adams, you know, that's, you know, nationwide.
Yeah.
Man, there's so many pairs of Stacey Adams in clubs all over the country. And then that's not a new occurrence. Like I said, everybody didn't come into the club to pop and lock all night. You know what I'm saying? But that didn't mean they didn't enjoy hip hop either. We made a lot of money. Hip hop has made a lot of money for shoe companies, man. The sneaker game is so much bigger than athletics. Like, it's not just basketball players are not the only people that made basketball shoes hot as they are.
Right.
You know, like, think about this. The sneaker game, a sneaker has a job, as do other shoes, as do cowboy boots. Cowboy boots are for riding horses and whatnot. Sneakers are for playing sports and whatnot. Work boots are for doing construction and whatnot. At some point, people decided that this is going to be the uniform for our club, our hip-hopping. And somebody decided sneakers for athletics and work boots. You know what I'm saying? Were appropriate attire.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And you know why,
we don't do cowboy boots. I'm glad that never happened.
Sneakers was such a major part because, some people back then took breakdancing like it was a sport.
Yeah, it was a daggone sport. What you talking about, man? You can't do that in no other shoe.
See?
Like I can't even imagine Tim's being out back then. I would have hated that.
No, you could. Tim's wouldn't have
trying to whip some Tim's around doing a windmill, man. I'd be to knock somebody out.
It definitely would not have survived back then.
Yeah, they feel like roller skates on your feet.
Or something real heavy.
You know what I'm saying?
But it's crazy how it has evolved, and and how much of a hold they have on each other.
Yeah.
But it's a part of the culture.
Yeah, and now we accept when a rapper makes some shoes. It's probably a good time for if somebody could really come out with a good shoe line. A rapper could probably come out with a shoe line right now. You know. But like I said, you got to make shoes in a different kind of quality than you could throw some jeans at me or a baseball hat or something like that. You come at me with some shoes and they ain't right, man. Like, dudes are not
That's the
messing with
worst.
shoes that, you know, you can't have no awful stitching and all of that stuff. Everything gotta
Right.
be right with shoes, man. You know, you can't mess around with the shoes. Glue gotta be right, all that. So, you know, not a lot of people are willing to put the time and effort it takes to make a quality shoe. And it shows through the years, which is why nobody's done it, probably.
So, Ye. Shout out Ye, man.
Yeah, shout out Ye, man. He made a quality shoe. You know what I'm saying? And I would argue that, you know, when you look at those like the Yeezy regular joggers, not even the rubber foamy ones.
You talking about
none of that.
That's what you call the shoe, the joggers. I thought you were talking about the pant.
I think the foam shoes are jogging shoes too, but you know, they were called runners or joggers or something. But he also had the cloth ones. Just good work. You know what I'm saying? And practical, something that you can actually use and wear for a long time. I see why people rock with that.
It helped catapult where his worth now.
Yeah. Yeah, so
it
lets you know that this is possible now. You know what I'm saying? So on that note, coming next, the Cap City Clogs. Making them out of wood.
By hand.
Me and DL gonna carve them.
Each pair.
Out of Carolina pine. And your foot never come out of them because pine got sticky tar on the inside to keep your foot in place.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
Take pre-sales now.
Pre-sales now. Give them the info, DL. We're going to get out of here.
Catch us on wherever you get your podcasts. Or check out all the episodes on overheretv.com.
Right on. So we out of here. It's Capital City. My name's Capital J.
And I'm DL Glass.
Later. This is Capital City with Capital J.